Hello and welcome to Sex with Charlie and Nina. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good.
Very well.
Who are we joined by today?
Today, we've got Leanne Cordingley, who is a clinical sexologist, sex coach, women's pleasure advocate, and digital women's top 40 women to watch in 2021. That's who we've got today.
How are you?
I'm well. I've had a bit of a cold, so you've got a sexy phlegm voice today, which is lovely. I'm all right, thank you. Been busy this morning. Yeah.
What have you been doing?
I have been talking to just under 100 year 12s, which they're about 17, 16, about sex. So lots of words thrown around that I never expected to say in a school assembly.
What words have you been saying today? I'd love a little insight into the sort of things that you talk to young people about.
Beef curtains, custard launcher, which I learned the other day and was hilarious. Beef curtains, custard launcher, dick. What else did I say?
Custard launcher.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it? Great.
What the fuck is that?
It's another word for a dick, apparently.
Custard launcher.
Oh, okay. Right.
Oh, you're good launcher. I'm like,
not
fussy. But no, I was
what teenage girls are going for this when they're like, get your lips around this custard launcher? Because I can't imagine teenage me.
Yeah, I wouldn't imagine teenage girls going for that kind of shebang.
No.
I was looking for synonyms for penises, synonyms for vulva and stuff like that. And like, what do you call yours? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
I came across these delightful words and I thought, I feel like I should share them. So I did. Got a few laughs, which is good because I had like 100. It was like, mixed boys, girls, and everything in between. And they were all just staring at me like, proper Kevin and Perry, like teenager, like cringe. Yeah. Oh my God, rolling eyes. I got some laughs at them, so that was all right. So I think that if they're laughing, then there's going to be some information they're going to take in.
Yeah. Do you find that it is easier to connect with people when they're laughing about it? Because your Instagram is very full of like little jokes and characters. And do you think it's easier to get the information across when people are laughing about it?
I think so. Like, I totally think so. I don't know what your experience of sex education when you were at school.
Oh God, dire.
Next to nothing. But it was, for me, it was all like really, really fear-based.
Yeah.
Don't get pregnant, don't get an STI, don't do this, don't have sex outside of marriage, that kind of stuff. And all very, very fear-based. Nothing about the fact that actually it's a lot of fun. As long as you're healthy and you're looking after yourself, it's actually a lot of fun. And I think because we had that kind of fear-based education, maybe our generation, definitely generations before had that kind of take on it, those kind of messages. I think that's kind of brought around a lot of shame and a lot of guilt about, well, I really like this. I really find this such a turn on, but I think I'm a bit weird because I think that, and I think a lot of shame messages could be just wiped out if we just start talking about it a little bit more. And let's face it, it's funny, right?
Yeah. I think so.
Oh yeah, it is funny, and it's a very serious, but it doesn't mean you can't laugh about it.
Yeah,
no, exactly. And as I just said this morning, I will use the word queef as well, which is German.
Yeah.
And I just said, if you're in a tryst with someone, and there's trumpet up north, we say trumpet. I'm in Nottingham. We don't really say farting here.
Yeah.
I said, if you're in bed with somebody or if you're in a tryst with somebody and somebody trumps or somebody queefs, if you can't laugh with that person, then should you really be doing stuff with that person? Like, because it is funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so many people like feel ashamed. Like the moment something like that happens, they just think, oh, fuck, because in your head, I think when you're younger, like you said, it's either something to be ashamed of to enjoy something, or even just sex in general, that you have to be like absolutely perfect at it.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not what sex is like at all. And you just feel like an absolute weirdo and completely ashamed if you do, like, especially if like certain sex positions make these funny noises happen more, don't they? And I just think if you just enjoyed it rather than worrying that you're going to like queef because you'd like bent over, like, do you know what I mean? Like you can enjoy it more, and then, you know,
absolutely,
and you're spreading that word, and that's great.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I do. So to going back to your question, I do think actually that people, you know, because it is something that we're not really used to talking about so much, it's not particularly polite conversation historically. So I think if you're talking about it with somebody who can put you at ease,
yeah,
that way, and you know, give you a giggle, or you know, it's okay. It's almost like a permission giving exercise. Like these people that I was talking to this morning, these young people, like I don't think they were expecting to have a presenter in their school talking about beef curtains and stuff, you know, but I do think that you retain information differently if you're enjoying when you're learning it, you know, if you're just sitting somewhere, whether you're a young person or an adult, and you're in a presentation and someone's just reading from their slides and then I think I don't know about you, I glaze over.
Yeah, you switch off, don't you? And you just don't hear anything, and you need the information to get in there. I was actually saying this. I was doing the school run this morning, and one of the mums was like, "Oh, what are you doing today?" And I said, "Oh, we're chatting to this woman," and she was like, "Oh my God, I can't talk about sex. I can't talk about it." And she's like 40, and I was like, "Well, what? Why can't you talk about it?" She said, "Oh, it's just so embarrassing, isn't it? Like, I just any information that I got about sex was from people in my school, and then that was that, and then I've never spoken about it to anyone, like in a friendship groups or families or anything like that." And I find that so crazy. But I mean, where we worked in the sex shop for so many years, we find a lot of things normal that perhaps other people wouldn't necessarily find that normal to talk about. But for a 40-year-old woman to say, "I cannot talk about sex," it's quite worrying, I think.
I think so, and I think it's worrying for younger generations as well. You know, because you know, whether you're a parent or not, young people learn from what they observe, not so much what we tell them, but it's from what we observe and how, you know, especially about the way we talk about our own bodies. They pick up those messages. But I mean, you know, that lady you were just referencing, that's exactly why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Because you know, in my other hat, I'm a yoga teacher. I've taught yoga for over 7 years. I've been on my own yoga mat for 22 years. And you know, in the yoga world, I'm doing that RC air quote thing. In the yoga world, we talk about holistic well-being. But to me, how can you talk about whole body wellness or whole body well-being if we're not talking about sexuality, because it's such a huge part of who we are, because we all deserve, we're all built to receive pleasure, and we deserve that as well. So, you know, the shame and the guilt and stuff that comes around it isn't really about the sex, it's about the messages that we've received. And so I think sometimes we need to, you know, have permission to think about those things in a different way. Probably you guys really you know, you've been living that, you know, working where you worked. It's just normal to talk about butt plugs and cock rings.
Yeah, you forget like that it's not, that it makes people feel uncomfortable, don't you? I think you kind of start off feeling uncomfortable yourself, and then you very quickly get comfortable with saying certain things like cock ring, clit stimulator, whatever, all of the words. And then you forget, don't you, that other people might not want you to be like, "Oh, Kirsty, have we got any butt plugs in stock?" Across the shop. And then you kind of come back round to realizing that people, you know, are still, so you have to ease people into it, don't you? But it's like we really are like on the minority, I think, like me, Nina, and you, where we feel comfortable talking about that. Like adults just,
it's a real shocker for some people, isn't it? Like people go, "I can't believe you're saying that," and you just think, why can't you believe I'm saying it? Doesn't everyone talk like this? And like you say, it becomes so normal, and you don't realize that it's not normal for everyone. Yeah.
I was in a bit of a discussion on LinkedIn the other day. Somebody had posted that their 5 or 6 year old had asked where babies had come from. I mean, to me, if a child's old enough to ask some semblance of ask a question, they're old enough to deserve some semblance of an answer. Maybe not the whole truth, but parents and caregivers know their child the best. So this engagement that was going on, this guy kind of responded and said, if I'd have fallen over and hurt my arm or my elbow, I'd have gone straight to the school nurse. But if I'd have hurt my, what did he call it? Definitely not cluster puncture. If I'd have hurt my down there bits, would I have gone to school? Definitely not. It's like, but you might really hurt yourself.
Yeah.
And if talking about the down there bits, like if we don't even have a name for them, of course we're ashamed of them. And actually, one of the main nerves goes from the genitals to the brain, the pudendal nerve. I get this word wrong all the time, forgive me. Comes from a Latin word that means to shame. Which is terrible, right?
Yeah.
Like boys and their genitals, they're all out there for all to see. They wiggle the jiggle all over the place, but girl stuff is all tucked underneath. So just even biologically, we're like, if we can't see it because it's hidden. And given these Latin names by these very clever stuffy old men, then to shame, it means, and why? I just think it's time that we change it.
Absolutely. Let's tell everyone about vaginas.
Yeah. I mean, we create life. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, why are you ashamed of that? Like, your period is like moon blood that creates life. Like, tell everyone that you're on your period.
So,
do you know what I mean? Like,
I'm all over that. Totally all over that. Like, I've given like presentations and like education stuff about periods as well.
But there's still so much shame about periods. Like, it's mad to me that when I was in school, I would have done anything to stop anyone hearing like the rustle of a tampon packet. And you just think, that's fucking mental.
Yeah.
But in my house, it was it was shameful. You didn't speak about it. It was kind of like one of those things that was like, oh great, now like I'm a fucking dog on heat. Oh great, we're gonna have to keep away from the other dogs. Like,
that's if anyone even acknowledged the fact that you were. It was like, oh, you're on your period now, go and be quiet, go and sit in your room and stay in there for 5 to 7 days and just zip.
It's mad, isn't it? And that's how everyone really everyone that I knew was living, having their periods, and you didn't speak about it. And even the other day, my mum said something like mental to me. And she said it was about my sister having sex with someone while she was on her period, right? So she told my mum this. I don't know why. And she went, well, Nina, I don't know, call me old-fashioned, but I just think that that's something that should be saved. It's only something that you do with your husband. You'd only ever have sex with your husband when you're on your period. And I was like, you fucking mental. Because one, she shouldn't have to marry anyone. And two, men will still bang you. So I just think, go for it. But she was like, she felt that it was so shameful and embarrassing that she wouldn't have been able to do that. And my mum is unmarried. She's never been married. So, Jackie, what are you chatting shit about? But her stance on it. And I was like, get with the program, mum. Like, women don't get put in like a little fucking hut anymore to like go and just be away from all the men. Don't bring shame to this household whilst you're on your period. But it's still sort of like that. But I talked to my daughter, who's 4, about periods because she's like, what's going on here? And I'm not going to lie to her about it.
High five you. Honestly, high five you. I know somebody who we were chatting recently, and she said, oh, just need to ask you for something. Her daughter was 9 and had started a period. And I know she was saying, it's quite young, but actually children do start periods younger now. I started my own period about 9, I think.
Yeah.
And different ways of kind of helping her with it. And it's unusual to think that some people wouldn't know anything about periods. Like when I started my period, I'm ancient now, but when I started my period, I knew nothing about it. I honestly thought, no shame on my mum, but she thought I was too young to know. But I thought I was dying. Thought I was dying, didn't know what was going on. So if we don't talk about things, how do we make people to know?
Yeah.
They're children, they're young people, they're not stupid.
Yeah, you've got to tell kids. I've got a son and a daughter. They're both teenagers now. But from the get-go, I was just like, yeah, that's called a period, and that's what women have, and that's what we need so we can create life.
Yeah,
so like both of them. And then that was the end of that. Do you know what I mean? That was kind of, with my son, it was like kind of the end of it. And then every now and then it'd be like, oh, having a period. But just when, like, not in a sarcastic way. Not in me snapping at him way, but in a like rustling to get a tampon kind of way. He was just like, oh, okay, oh, you're having a period, aren't you? Yeah, I am. Yeah, and I just like, I don't want them growing up thinking anything other that's like so natural to happen. It's so weird, isn't it, to think that people are ashamed of their own bodies in that way.
50% of the population have a uterus.
Yeah,
bleed at some point. Like, that's a fact.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you're into like spiritualism and well-being, aren't you? With your yoga and stuff. But we discovered something the other day which I've never seen before. But have you ever seen a Sheela Na Gig?
Oh yeah.
What's that?
It's like an ancient like, I don't know, what was she, like a
deity or something like that? Yeah,
she was like a deity, and she's depicted with a big labia and vulva. So it's
I know the image that you made.
Yeah. And we discovered that the other day, and I was like, oh my God. And all the Catholics went down and started ripping them all off of everything, didn't they? So they kind of sort of got forgotten about. But that was like a celebration of women, like back in like when paganism was the big thing before the Catholics kind of took over. And I want to get back to that. I want that symbol back everywhere.
Yeah.
Sheela.
The celebration of fertility, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Creativity and life. So I think a lot of before like Catholicism and religion had like such a big influence, I think it was more celebrated about femininity and womanhood. We used to, once a month we would go into a tent, and we would go into a red tent. We would all have periods and bleed together with our mums, with our sisters, with our cousins, with our aunties, and they would deal with the women's things. Like the childbirth and period pains. Even probably not quite so much menopause, because people wouldn't have lived quite as to this kind of menopausal age, I wouldn't imagine then. But there's something really powerful about that. And it's my understanding that women going off into a red tent once a month probably instilled quite a lot of like, what are they going on about? What are we missing out on? Because they're all there. They're talking about all this mysticism and so many lessons passed down, from like grandmother to mother to daughter, whatever, what herbs to use during childbirth, or what herbs to steep in tea when you've got a period pain, that turned them into witches. Oh, let's burn them. Herbalism kind of like the basis for, I suppose, basis for modern medicine. We're going back that way now, aren't we? I take herbal supplements and stuff for reasons and whatnot. I'm absolutely all for that. But I think there is a danger of kind of like really kind of demonizing men about it as well, which is not really okay. Like, I think that if we're going to draw a line and go forward, if we're equals, which we are, what did my son call it? Second wave feminism or something, about women who hate men and
not me,
like,
Well, they've been shielded from education the same as we have been shielded from education about our bodies, and it is very generational, this like thing that's passed down. So the men that I know that have children, they know everything they know about being men and parenting and families from their own parents, and so they don't get told about things either. And
No.
so there's got to be like a stop where we go, right, everyone needs to know this. It's not just women. Men have got to know. And that should be with anything to do with your bodies, as well as like sex and, anything biological, because you just don't know. And even of our age group, when we were given sex education, it was, like you said, it was fear. And it was the least sexiest thing I've ever witnessed. And I was like, I'm probably not going to do that. I don't.
Yeah, sounds like
not.
Or
Just looked gross. I mean, the guy on the video was like not bangable at all. And I just think, if that's what's out there, I won't have that.
Yeah.
That's why it's so important what you're doing, because the age groups that you're going to talk to still have a fighting chance of changing their opinions on how they view women and how they view sex, and how they view periods. Because I think once they turn into men, they're kind of like set in their ways. Like, it's really hard to sit a man down and have a conversation and make them feel differently about all of that. Same with women really as well. It took me ages to kind of stop feeling ashamed about sex and my own body. Like, it's an ongoing process really, if I'm being completely honest. So what you do must be really rewarding, that you can just go in and just be that for people where their parents might not be at that level yet. So they've got a fighting chance really with someone like you going around.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to talk to those people as well, because there are people who they'll want their I don't want my child, I've got 2 boys, I don't want my boys learning about sex from graffiti, from porn. Not that there's anything wrong with porn, but I don't want them learning that stuff that's important from the mates, from behind the bike sheds, from graffiti, from films and stuff like that. Because there's a lot of misinformation about that. Even talking about porn films, well, a woman's a woman's vulva looks like this. No, it actually doesn't. And like, men are shortchanged with it as well, because like, if you look at porn films, they've all got 6-packs, they've all got custard launchers like that, and like, it's shortchanging all of us. So I don't think there's nothing wrong with porn, but I would just much rather my children have access to factual information rather than the hearsay, like, oh, my mate did this, so we should really be doing this. So there are parents who want their children to have that information, because I want my boys to be healthy, happy adults and to enjoy healthy, happy sex lives. Like, my boys are 17 and 12, and I know they're going to fucking cringe when they know that I'm talking about them. But, that's what we talk about here. We're really positive in this house. And so, I do see it's really important. But not just, sorry, I was going around the houses there, not just talking with the kids, but I want to help the parents as well. Talk to the parents so that, because it's going to be far more valuable coming from a parent who's, or a caregiver who already knows that child, and they knows what information they already have access to, what information they already know.
Well, their parents are on tap, aren't they? Like, you can go in and give your education to them, and then, I mean, the way schools still are, I don't know if it's different from where you go and do your talks, but you'll have one talk in your whole school life, and then that's the end of it. I don't know if you do like a weekly thing or anything like that, or if it is still just a one-off thing.
The curriculum changed very recently. I think it was just before COVID. Can't remember. But so instead of it being, it's like an ongoing. I think it's a whole term of PSHE that goes into, and it's not just about sex; it's about relationships as well, like the emotional dynamics of the relationship. But the teacher's only going to be able to deliver that to the capacity of their own emotional comfort talking about it. Because these teachers, they've studied geography, and they're an amazing historian or whatever, but talking about penises. So but it is really important, but they have a whole term of it, and it's a lot more broad in their so it's not just mechanics, this goes there, that goes there.
This is how you put a condom on a banana.
Yeah. You know what? I feel like I've missed out. I'm 45 years old and I've never put a condom on a banana, so I might do that after this call.
Oh yeah, you should. We could have done it together.
We have condoms.
Yeah, we've actually got little condoms with our face on it.
Oh, that is amazing.
They're cool, aren't they? Yeah, so we're just making it rain with Johnny's. Right, so let's move on, because we ask all of our guests a set of questions that we sent to you.
We want to know about your sex life.
Yeah. Definitely. Right, where's my page?
I might have to censor to protect the innocent, might I?
Well, I mean, if they deserve to be named, then you are welcome to name them. We haven't got to the point where we know how to beep things out, so you can just beep it yourself.
Okay.
Or if you like us, pretend like you're not going to say their name, or try not to say their name, and then halfway through you will be like, yeah, and then John did this, and it was fucking so awkward. So
yeah, that's me that does that every time.
Yeah.
Okay, so what is the worst sex you've ever had?
Ooh. Now, I was thinking about this on my way to sit up to my desk this morning. So worst sex. Well, I wasn't shitting in a field like that. Proper laughter there. Right. Okay, so exploring the world of threesomes. Yeah. So.
Oh no, not another one! You're killing the fantasy for me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
well, because I have this idea of being absolutely adored and worshipped by two hunky men. But every time someone shares their threesome experience, it is the absolute opposite of anything I can imagine.
Okay. Well,
this is no exception.
Actually, it was with another couple, and we'd gone over there and we'd had drinks and stuff, and the other guy had got out a joint. It's not my bag. I don't like it. He ended up turning green. And
no.
When you know someone's going to be sick, and you can hear it gurgle. Nothing was happening. We were just sat around the dining room.
Okay.
We were talking, and then we were like, "Are you right?" He was like, "What?" But you could hear this gurgle. I was like, "Oh my god, it's going to go all over me," because I'm sitting opposite him. And he used himself. And then there was activity with her, and she was kind of more into me than my partner, and fine. But she started hitting me, proper hitting me. Now I'm all up for a bit of BDSM. I do like a bit of kink, but she was hitting me, and it was really fucking nice.
Well, you have to ask as well, and no one wants to be beaten to a pulp. There's a difference between a little tap, isn't there, than a full-on whack.
Yeah, and start with a little tap.
Yeah,
if you're going to go into full-on, start with a little tap. You can't just go.
Yeah, no little tap. It was proper belting my ass, and I was like, ow.
Oh,
no. Ow. And then same evening, I am not going to mention this person's name, but I think she had a problem with knowing where the clitoris was as well, or someone else's. It's different, where your own clitoris is.
Yeah.
That's at that angle. Turn your hand around to that angle, and you can't quite get. Does that make sense?
No, I've got a problem with this. Because I saw the other day, we posted it on our socials. Someone was going around with a picture of a vagina, in its entirety, so the vulva, clitoris, everything, and they were asking men where the clitoris was, and I thought, I've heard it before when they say, oh, men can't find the clitoris, but I thought that they were just getting it wrong and they meant the G-spot, because for me, like, the clitoris is just there. It's like in the same position everywhere.
I always thought the clitoris was in the same place on everyone.
Yeah, so did I. And so I thought when they're saying clitoris, I think they mean G-spot, because there's no way that men are missing a clitoris. But
I think it might be an angle thing.
you think it's an angle thing? It was worrying, these guys pointing at this diagram, because I was just like, you aren't qualified for this.
Yeah, no, I think it's an angle thing.
Okay.
Because and with different clitorises, they protrude in different ways.
Yeah.
So the glands of the clitoris, and all geeky and anatomy, but the glands of the clitoris will come out in slightly different ways, because I don't know if you're familiar with the work of Emily Nagoski, but she talks about everybody's made of the same parts, but we're just organised in different ways.
Yeah.
No two sets of genitals are the same.
Yeah.
So perhaps the clitoris, the hood of the clitoris and the glands of the clitoris were just slightly not what that person was familiar with, perhaps.
Yeah. You kind of think that women would know more about it.
Yeah, exactly what I said.
Yeah. And if you've ever been with a guy, or to anyone, if you've ever been with anyone who doesn't know their way around a woman's body, you're like, you just think it's just all there, and you know what's good and what's not, so you just assume that another woman would know what's good and what's not. I know it's different, what's good and what's not is different for everyone, but like generally you kind of want it all going on in the same area, don't you?
I've never been with a woman, but I'd like to think that if I was, that I would be really good, because I know what's good for me. Yeah. And I just think I would know what's good for a woman.
And that's how men think. I know what's best for you.
But based on me being a woman myself.
Some sort of like knowledge, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know anything about how to please a man, like nothing. I don't think.
Well, that's the thing, because everybody enjoys different sensations. Like you must have seen, like, you probably had, there was probably bestsellers in probably bestsellers, but wouldn't have been the only thing.
No.
Would it? Like, so different toys for different sensations and whatnot. So I suppose everybody gets off on different things.
Yeah. But in general, clit stimulation is the thing. Do you know what I mean? You'd have like a dildo on its own without like the clit bit on it, but that's not really used for women on their own, if you know what I mean. So it'd be used as like a sex toy with your partner or whatever. But in general, clit stimulation is the thing that you do to a woman to like make them come. So I don't know how people aren't knowing.
I don't know, maybe if I was a horse or something, the way she was like whipping me. Maybe she was expecting different anatomy or something, I don't know.
Oh,
I don't
God.
know. But yeah, I was kind of, it wasn't like it was a dalliance, and it was a like, when's the taxi coming? When's the taxi gonna be here? Time to go. Let's go.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awkward. So
on the flip side, Nina, it's not all bad.
I was going to say, did you try and have another couples encounter? A successful one?
Oh, good.
Yeah, it's fun.
There you go.
So it wasn't that bad that you wouldn't do it again?
Not at all. No. That particular dynamic, no. No, it's a lot of fun. It's very different. And what we were talking about earlier on about if you can't laugh with someone, then you shouldn't really be doing stuff. But what we kind of find is that is that there's a lot more laughing in it. Like, it seems like, to me, there's not really a sexy threesome. It's a laugh and it's fun.
You know what I mean? Okay.
Like in I suppose it's kind of like specific to our dynamic, but it's more laughing and joking and
Like any other activity that you might do, like going out for dinner or going to cinema, just going for a fuck.
Yeah, going to cinema, going down. Who wants, like, what shall I do?
Yeah. Oh, maybe I'm hyping it up in my head to be this thing that it's not actually meant to be. Maybe I will be disappointed because I've made it something that isn't a thing.
Well, there's something nice about fantasy, isn't there?
Yes, a lot of things that I think should remain firmly in fantasy because they logistically are not a thing that I want to deal with in real life.
Yeah,
I love that though. Like, I was having a conversation with somebody at a networking meeting the other month that, you know, at what point should you turn that fantasy into a reality? Because it's kind of like the red pill or the blue pill, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's done. And especially if it does happen to involve another person, then it's kind of, you know, it might just be like a fantasy of a different sex toy or whatever. But, you know, it's kind of a red pill, blue pill situation, I think. And I think it's great that you know, if you have some fantasies that, you know, are really great for you, knowing that, I'm happy for them to stay on that shelf.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's nice.
Yeah. You don't want your fantasies ruined with reality.
No.
Yeah, it's like having your idea of your Mr. Right or your Mrs. Right or your in between right or whatever, and then, you know, meeting them and going out for dinner with them and they eat like a pig or something, like it's ruined. Oh, I fancy for ages, and like,
oh God, yeah, that's happened, isn't it?
Yeah, well, one of my friends actually said, when I asked them this question, they said, like, the worst sex they ever had was with someone that they had known for years that they thought was like this like beautiful, perfect woman, and the sex was going to be so fucking good because she's so hot and he really, really fancied her. And then like years later went out on a date, ended up sleeping with her, and it was the most disappointing, like just not what he thought it was going to be. And yeah, I know, he said that was one of the worst experiences he'd ever had. And I just thought, don't people will disappoint you. Yeah. So yeah, completely get that.
Don't meet your heroes.
Yeah.
That's what I was looking for. Not eat like a pig, wasn't it? Don't meet your heroes. That seems a lot more logical.
Yeah.
Okay. What's your most embarrassing sex moment?
Oh, right. Okay. With my first boyfriend, like many, many moons ago, when I was 15, I hadn't been with him for very long. I had been with him for very long, but we hadn't long been having sex. So I think I was with him about 2 years before we started having sex with my first boyfriend. And we did have period sex. Because I was on my pill, had terrible period pains. Don't know why I'm feeling the need to justify that, but here we go. Here we are. So I was on the pill. I'd been with this boy for a couple of years and we'd started having sex. I had period sex. It was very nice. It was lovely. And then the next time I went to his house, I'd slept over. And I went to his house and I walked into the living room and his mum had a carrier bag of sheets from his bed. And she just threw the carrier bag of sheets at me. How disgusting I was. And she had 2 daughters and they've never bled like that on the sheets. It wasn't, I didn't want like, it was the wrong time to say it wasn't just my blood, it was your son's semen as well. It was the wrong time to say that, so I didn't. Launched this carrier bag of bloody sheets at me as a 17-year-old girl, and I was absolutely mortified. And so was he. Like, he was like 18, 19-year-old boy. He was absolutely just horrified. He didn't know what to do with this situation.
Who treats young women like that?
A woman treating a young woman like that?
That is horrifying. I'm really sorry that happened to you. I know I'm nothing to do with her, but that is fucking awful.
And she was a little bit of a dragon. However, I'm a real believer in things, shitty situations being a lesson. And that's been an important lesson to me about menstruation, because it's not dirty.
Yeah.
So thanks for that, Mrs. Bleep.
Yeah.
Just say her fucking name, evil witch.
Fucking hell. That is horrifying.
That is, what awful thing to do to someone.
Yeah, and it's like that's like stayed for me for like 30 years. I can still remember that feeling of shame, that like I'm like, oh
no shit, I want to cry. And that it didn't happen to me. That's fucking horrible.
That is fucking horrible. Don't ever do that. If you're listening, do not ever do that. Please. That is horrible.
And listen, love, as well. Your daughters, they're bleeding like that. And they're probably up to worse things because you're so close-minded that you can't fucking have a conversation with them.
Well, they're definitely bleeding all over their sheets. They're just probably like desperately trying to hide it. They're probably driving themselves absolutely fucking mad trying to hide.
Seeing that as a lesson to someone who lives outside your house? Like, even when your mum like treats you like shit, at least you know it stays contained within your home, so no one else knows what a massive cunt they are. Like, but to do that to someone who doesn't live in your house, oh my God. I can't. Fucking hell.
Yeah. That was a gem. Oh my God. It could have been anal sex, couldn't it? Like
yeah, it could have been shit all over your sheets, love.
Yeah.
Should be counting your blessings. It's just period blood.
Yeah. Because people are puking and shitting and jizzing on everything. So fucking have a day off, will you?
Yeah.
Oh my God. That is awful.
Okay. Right. What's your sexiest song?
Oh, I have so many. I have a really great playlist.
Have you got a name for your playlist?
Yes. Welcome to My Dark.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
You were talking earlier on about like goddess, kind of like that, kind of getting back in touch with that. That's just me. Like dark curtains, close the curtains, make the room dark, candles.
Oh yeah.
Loud music. Like, you know, sometimes it even starts on my yoga mat. I'll make my room dark, candles, incense, and I'll just you know when you have just like just angry, you feel angry in the dark. So yeah, I created a playlist called Welcome to My Dark. The one of the best songs though, I think, two really great songs, both on the 50 Shades soundtrack. You know, the Annie Lennox.
Oh yeah,
I've lost it. And what the other one's Beyonce's Crazy in Love.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
But the Annie Lennox cover of the other song, I can't remember what that is called off the top of my head, but I think they're great.
I know.
And Rihanna's S&M.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Love it, love it, love it.
Oh yeah.
I put a spell on you.
Yeah.
That's the one.
Yeah. Screaming Jay Hawkins. Yeah. It's not got the same vibe, the original, is it?
Not really. No, not really.
Oh, fucking hell. Yeah, that's wicked. What made you feel the kinkiest person ever?
What made me feel the kinkiest
person? What have you done that's made you feel like the kinkiest person ever?
Okay. Being locked in a cage with a blindfold.
Oh yeah, that's well kinky.
Yeah, that is.
Love a bit of kink. Love a bit of kink.
Nice. Was that are you single now? Are you with somebody?
No, I'm married.
Oh, okay. So is that with the person you're married to? Yeah.
Good choice. I feel like you made a good choice there.
Yeah, we do have a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, it's very important, isn't it, that you're doing things like this with someone that you trust for safety reasons, because things like this can go so wrong, can't they?
You're absolutely right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Like, yeah, we do stuff that he enjoys, and then the other stuff that I enjoy. So yeah, it's kind of like a little bit of almost negotiations. We don't necessarily like both love the same stuff, but we, you know, it's nice to try different things. I think you're right. I think you to bring up the word with someone that you trust. Yeah, because that's fundamentally what years ago I used to think the BDSM was all about. You know, kicking the shit out of someone just for someone to get the kicks, and it's not. It's really not. It's about trusting and like having that trust to be completely vulnerable.
Yeah.
And you know, it doesn't even have to be sexual. Like it's a trust.
Yeah.
Put myself in your hands, sometimes quite literally, but I know I'm okay. I'm okay.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it, with BDSM? Like, it's everywhere, isn't it? It's the latest thing. It's been the latest thing for a while, heightened by 50 Shades. And my experiences of BDSM from my former life are just people hurting each other, and it's not. There must be a level of trust within the pairings. I used to do like promo work for like fetish clubs and things like that, and but a lot of it, from an outsider's point of view, someone who wasn't joining in, who was just there serving drinks and just looking cute, was that people just getting hurt, and I really just didn't like it. And it scares me now when people are always on the dating apps, like looking for a submissive, and I just think, I don't want to be kicked the shit out of. Don't do that to me. So I just feel like I can't even dabble because I'm scared that you're going to get the wrong person, even if you think you can trust them, and then they're going to chain you to something and hurt you. That worries me.
Yeah, I mean, I have witnessed in a party a while ago. I have witnessed there was a top and bottom, and I couldn't be in the same room. I was like, no, that doesn't feel okay for me. She was okay, he was okay, they were fine, they were cracking on. I was like, I can't witness that, because that's past a boundary of my own.
Yeah.
That's what's really important, to know yourself, to know what your no's are, like your cliche, but knowing your hard limits.
Yeah.
And that doesn't just apply to BDSM, of course, it applies to everything.
Yeah.
But knowing that that's not okay for me, so I'm going to move myself away from this situation.
Yeah.
And
and knowing that person is going to be cool with you saying that as well, because I think that's where the trust kind of comes into it. And where like there's like a commercial BDSM, I think, where people have an idea of what they think it is, and then there's the actual world of it, like the legit world, and like people that actually want to do those things
and
for
live
sexual
it as
pleasure,
a lifestyle, don't they?
A lifestyle, but like an actual like part of their sex life. But then you've got the people that are just kind of like, I just want to whip you, and I just want to strangle you. And if you get to the point where you're just like, this is hurting, they're just like, oh yeah, fucking, you're not into this then. Shame you for rejection. Not being into it. So I just,
those people shouldn't be in your playroom, really.
No.
Yeah, and there's a lot of that, and I think a lot of that stems from like porn, I think.
Yes.
Where there's a lot of violent porn now, and it's becoming common knowledge. Like you said, children are learning like what pleases a woman through watching porn, and where this violent porn is so it's everywhere. It's the most common type of pornography that you can find on the internet. And they're like, they think that's what pleases a woman. So there's not like, I don't even know, I can't even remember where I was going with this at all.
But it's misinformation, isn't it?
Yeah,
misinformation, and that's why it's really good to educate yourself about the things. Just saying this morning, how can you know what your no's are if you don't know what your yeses are? Like you were saying earlier on, that there are some things that you have as fantasy that you want to keep as fantasy, and they're your yeses. Like, that is my yes on that shelf, in that box, that's that box, but these things aren't okay. And I think it's really important to know yourself, and especially if you're in a relationship, it's very easy to get caught up with okay, well, my partner wants to do X, Y, Z. I don't, but they do, so I'll do it. There's an imbalance there. And like even like differing levels of libido. A couple that might have been I've been married forever, one of them may want to have sex more than the other person, just naturally differing libidos, because nobody's libido is ever going to be exactly matched. And then that person having sex with their partner, they don't want to, but keeping them happy, or I'm going to get blue balls if I don't. That kind of that kind of thing. So I think it is really important to know you.
Yeah. And to be comfortable with saying no. And I think that's definitely a massive lesson for boys and girls, is that girls should feel like they can say no, and boys should accept no as no, or like anything other than yes as no.
Yeah.
I think that's very important, because if you're not sure, then it's no.
Absolutely.
And I think boys need to be educated in that as well.
Well, the amount of times we've had like experiences with people we're dating that are just going, oh, go on, just the tip is what we say, just a tip, or please let me go down on you, please let me have sex with you. And the thing is, like, if you peck away at something for long enough, you eventually go, oh God, fine, if it will shut you up. But like, it's only sort of a fairly recent thing for me in my adult years, knowing that you can say no to things you don't actually want to do. And even if someone's saying please, you don't have to be gracious and say, oh, okay, then. They shouldn't want to have sex with you if you are saying, I really don't want to, but if you keep on at me, then I will. Yeah,
I think we need to, I'm just talking about a very generic thing that is for everybody, educate our children and ourselves. I really don't like to talk in terms of gender because, it's everybody, but I think we should be teaching our girls how to say no.
Yeah.
And boys. And I think we should be teaching our boys and our girls how to hear no.
Yeah.
Like, when, a parent goes to a shop and the kid wants some sweets. No. But she's got like a million things on her list. And blah, blah, blah. Oh, all right, just go on.
Yeah.
But that's what we kind of take because we're so busy sometimes.
Yeah.
But it's really, really helpful to practice saying no.
Yeah.
And also to practice hearing no.
Yeah. It's not always a rejection no, isn't it? Like, I think people think that no is like a final. It's like a no, never. And like you say about being in a shop, like if your mum says maybe, I mean, you kind of sort of know it's a no, but it leaves it open, doesn't it? But if it's a definite no, you are not getting that. And I think that's why people take it so personally. Like, a no can mean not now, or like not at this stage that we're at, but instead they'll go, well, fuck you then, if you're not going to have sex with me.
Yeah, but even if it is a no and it's final, like, that's okay. Like, I think a lot of people feel like proper, like, rejected and like really shit about themselves because one person doesn't like them. Do you know what I mean? Like, but then just, that's cool, not everyone's going to like you, you don't like everyone else, then meet someone else.
Yeah, there's a thing that I read, I can't remember whose words they are, so I can't claim them as my own. It's not a rejection, it's a redirection.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
So,
yeah, love that. I love that. Anyway, moving on, because now we're talking about rape and I don't really this is supposed to be light-hearted and fun, but even though it's serious, we've done that. We've done that now. Okay, so this is the last question. Okay. Who is the worst person that you can think of, and who is the sexiest person you can think of?
Oh, do you know what? Those things that make you really uncomfortable. The first one makes me really uncomfortable. I can't think of the worst person. Like, I don't know. Just,
it doesn't even have to be like physically. It can be just a lot of people. And we said this the other day, and because someone had said to us, oh, I can't think of anyone for the worst because everyone is great in their own way. And, and that is true. But then he quickly realised that there's lots of people he hates, and then was able to list a few. But most people pick like the likes of Boris Johnson because of the things that he stands for, not just because they find him physically unattractive. So it can be just someone who says things or does things you really don't agree with. A girl the other day said, said Putin. So, it really can be anyone.
I might have to go with her then, because I really can't think of anybody that I really, really hate. I can't. Like, if there's anybody I don't like, I just stay away from them.
You're going to get off this call and then you're going to think, oh, fuck, I should have said them because I really do hate them.
Yeah, no, I'm not very, yeah. Okay. And as well, similarly, find it very hard to think of who's the sexiest person. find that really hard too.
Oh,
Do you have like, I've got a top 5 celebrity crushes. So for me, I just pick whatever one, someone from that list.
I don't have a list either. I don't have a list. Like, yeah, I don't have a list.
Oh.
I know. I had this conversation with someone the other day, and she said, "No, you must have. You need to have a celebrity." And I'm like, I mean, if I had to pick one, then probably David Beckham.
Always a good one.
He just ages like a fucking fine wine as well, doesn't he?
Looks so much nicer as he's older.
Oh yeah. Oh, he's aged very well.
I feel like he's grown with me. Do you know what I mean? Because when I was younger, I really fancied him, and I fancied people that age and that look. And then as I've got older, my opinions on men have changed, and my
the standards that you hold them to, the beauty standards we hold men to, and
my preferences have changed. He's kind of changed with that, and he's just timeless, isn't he?
He knows what you want, doesn't he, David Beckham?
Sean Connery went in his days, like, well, not even too young, like, he's always been very distinguished and lovely. I'm gonna have to say J-Lo as well.
I mean, she blows my mind. She blows my mind. And what gets me about J-Lo is like she's a 10 out of 10, isn't she? She's got it all. And everyone's like, well, she's got personal trainers and she's got cooks and she's got this and she's got that. But the woman hasn't eaten a carb since 1991.
That's restraint, isn't it?
You've got to respect her for that.
Dedication.
She's putting in the work.
Yeah.
You can't be annoyed with J-Lo for looking like she looks if you're not going to stop eating the stuff that you're eating.
Yeah.
That's what I think. So all respect for her.
Yeah.
And she's, ever since I saw her in, have you seen Selena, when she was Selena in that film? It was before she had an album. It was like the first thing that she ever did.
No, I haven't.
She played Selena, the singer, in the film Selena. And oh my God, her body, her face, her hair, everything.
In Hustlers, have you seen Hustlers? Where she's in the strip club, the head stripper. Can't think what they're called. Proper girl crushing going on here. She's totally gorgeous. Totally dreamy. Okay, well, that brings us to the question that everyone wants to know. So the worst person you can think of is Putin, and the sexiest is we'll go with J-Lo for the sake of diversity. Who would you have sex with? Putin, who is alive, or J-Lo, who's freshly dead? She's only just dead, so she's still warm. She's consented to it. You're there for that, so she knows that you're coming over and it's going to get freaky up in there. So she already knows. So she said yes, but unfortunately she has just croaked it at that moment. Oh God, you're going to send me straight to hell, aren't you? We're all going to hell, Leanne. Yeah, I think if I say J-Lo, I'm going straight to hell, but I'm gonna guess it probably is a lot more fun in hell than the other place. Exactly. So, all the best people are there. Yeah, so okay. I mean, even if I just stroke her hair, yeah. So you got to work out what will be easier to live with. Yeah. Having sex with Putin or having sex with dead J-Lo. You're carrying that around with you? I think, oh God. This is really hard. That's what she said. Yeah. I would have to be J-Lo, as long as I knew that, we'd had a conversation before. Yeah. We agree with you. It's an absolute no-brainer to have sex with a dead person. Yeah, a hot dead person, yeah. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. There's no shame in here, Leanne, don't worry. People might not even listen to this, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. It's what we said when we first started podcasting, and everyone listens to us. Oh, well, I've
absolutely thoroughly enjoyed talking to you.
Yeah.
I think you're awesome.
Really enjoyed it. Thank you for having me here.
Yes, hopefully you'll come back again and hit us with some more like sex facts, because I think our listeners would be particularly interested in the ins and outs, if you excuse the pun. But all your links will be put up so they can find you and they can have a little peruse at their leisure.
That would be wonderful. That'd be wonderful. Yeah, thanks ever so much for having me. I've really enjoyed it. It's been a really lovely conversation.
Good. It's so lovely to meet you. And I love your Instagram. I love your little granny character.
Oh, Doris.
That's so funny.
Everyone loves I've got one in the pipeline, actually, and it's nothing to do with J-Lo.
Why isn't it to do with dead J-Lo? You need to broaden your horizons, girl.
Okay, well, thank you. And we will see you soon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bye-bye. Bye.